Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Mint Door Podcast. I'm Dr. Laura Schwint.
And I'm Dr. Karen Tyndall.
We are excited to bring to you a guest today, Dr. Parul Dua Makkar. And she completed her DDS at the University of Oklahoma College of Dentistry in 2003. She practiced in Calgary, Alberta before moving to New York. And there she completed her GPR training at Staten Island University Hospital. She completed that in 2007 and has been in private practice ever since. Currently, she is the owner of PDM Family Dentistry in Long Island, where she resides with her husband and two boys.
Now, Dr. Makkar's life took a different trajectory when she lost her only younger sibling, a Calgary dentist, Dr. Manu Dua, to oral cancer in March 2021. Since his death, she devotes her time to educating doctors and patients about the risk factors, prevention, and advocating for early diagnosis of oral cancer. She has co-authored several dental journals, presents lectures to dentists, and has been guests on many podcasts.
She is also host of the podcast Life Interrupted, Dr. Dua's Survival Guide. It's a podcast companion to the book, and it features Alberta's prominent dental specialists and doctors. She believes oral care is the gateway to overall well-being and aims to have open conversations with her parents. She is recipient of the Denobi Award 2022 and LI Excellence in Healthcare in 2022. She has also co-authored the book Life Interrupted, Dr. Dua's Survival Guide, which is a finalist for the CIPA Evie Award. So welcome to the Mint Door Podcast, Dr. Parul Dua Makkar. We are so excited to have you here today and grateful that you're spending a little bit of your time with us.
Oh, thank you both, Lauren and Karen. Thank you for having me here. Yeah. I'm delighted.
Yeah. Excellent.
Well, we're super excited that you're here, and we would like to start off your podcast the same way that we welcome all our guests with our quick this or that quiz. So me and Laura are going to, in a very gentle way, rapid fire questions at you, and we just want the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, so I'm going to start off, and then Laura and I will take it in turns. Do you hair dry or air dry your hair?
That.
All right, heels or tennies?
I'm sorry?
Heels or tennies?
Heels.
Okay. Do you prefer to wear yoga pants or jeans?
Yoga pants.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl.
Would you like to visit the mountains or the ocean?
Ocean.
How about breakfast or no breakfast?
No breakfast.
Do you like to eat in or eat out?
Eat in.
Movies or Netflix?
Netflix.
Do you like to read a paper book or a Kindle?
Paper book.
Cat or dog?
Dogs.
Would you order a burger or a salad?
Burger.
And Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
Very nice. That just seems like a nice, relaxing, other than the heels. Yeah, you like your heels.
I'm short.
Yoga pants and heels. Maybe that should be
yoga pants and heels, right? Two different options. But yeah, I'm short. I'm always in heels of some sort. Even my Crocs I have with heels a little bit to give me a little inch or two. That's really it. Yeah.
Oh, well, I am right there with you. I think, neither Karen or I were blessed with the tall gene either. So
yeah, vertically challenged. So
vertically challenged, exactly. Yeah. Oh, well, speaking of challenges, your life took kind of a 180-degree turn in 2021, which isn't that long ago, with your brother's death. And suddenly you were navigating grief on top of everything else. Looking back, what did you learn through this, and what can you share with others who may be navigating this?
Sure. So yes, I lost my only and younger brother, and it's just you think of life as going and a certain progression. You do lose your parents before any of your siblings, especially a younger sibling. And, I learned to navigate grief being very personal, and nobody can tell you how to process it. Everybody is different. Um, I had to be a little bit more conscious about how I was dealing with it because I didn't want to take it in a negative turn, which can lead to addiction or other issues, overeating, over exercising, or getting into bad habits. And so I had to really be positive because I had little ones navigating through it with me. Um, and it hits you like nothing else. Before somebody would say, oh, my parent died, or my sibling died, or somebody in their family died, even a pet who somebody is very attached to. And I would be like, you share your few words of condolences and you walk away. But grief is such a powerful emotion, and it just stays with you, and you work yourself. And that's what I learned, how to be more compassionate to my patients and even as friends, and offering that hand that others offered me because they'd been through this journey. And you don't realize who those friends are, who your true friends are, until everybody's there to celebrate with you. You throw a party, everybody comes. But when you are going through a tough time, there's only a few that knock on your door and say, they'll push their way through, and they'll say, we're here for you, we're here to help you and hold your hand. And that's what grief taught me, is to recognize my friends, and being positive in my grief, and also how valuable our time is. We are so complacent sometimes. Talking about Netflix, I can spend hours on Netflix, and it will, and one show will be a whole evening. And it's just realizing how important are the value of time that we can't return back, and things you could have done. So really paying attention to how I'm spending time with whom I'm spending time with, um, and doing things that bring me joy. So learning how to say no to things, because you know what, at that moment in time, I really do not feel like doing it, and I shouldn't have to answer to anybody for that. It's my time, and it's my choosing how and whom and where I spend it. So it's learning and navigating through those life lessons. And unfortunately, tragedy made it so.
Yeah, that's really valuable, because everybody's going to go through grief at some point. And so knowing that what you can gain to help others through is a beautiful way to look at what you can gain from this.
Right. Yeah.
So it seems like that during times of stress and loss and traumatic things that happen to us, that life can appear like it's just going on from the inside out. Now, what did you do that helped you cope with your loss? And what maybe advice have you got for others to hear? How do you cope?
So coping it's an art almost, and you'll learn it. And what you say about life goes on, and nothing stops. There are times where I felt with coping with grieving, it's like, just stop, world, just let me get off to process what I'm going through, because things are still going. Bills need to be paid, and kids need to go to school, or whatever activities need to be done. You're still living life. And in a way, I've felt that life moving on is a way of grieving also. It's letting go of certain things and coping that loss. Like, yeah, things are hard, and it will get easier over time. And learning also with coping, learning also to realize when you're grieving, to let the grief, the emotion kind of go through your body, not to hold it back. Like I felt one of the things I realized is, like, whenever I held anything inside of me, your body can only handle so much stress. And there's a lot of stress we all face, being women, being owners of businesses, or doing work, and having children and wives and husbands and all of that. And you can't hold it in. It's got to let out somewhere. And so when you're feeling that emotion, let go. I got counseling. I do see a counselor, and works through my emotions, or learning how to one of the things I've learned also is I cannot control what other people do. There are so many times people have done things that I have felt hurt about. And I don't necessarily agree with how they have interacted with me. And learning to realize that it's not their doing, it's me letting go. Like, I cannot change their reactions. I can only change how I perceive it, and how I can change my mindset and be like, okay, if they said it, their opinion, their prerogative, that's theirs. It doesn't affect me or bother me. It's none of my business how they react. I just have to be focused on me and what's important to me. It's realizing those. So those are just coping, and it's a hard things to learn. It's a learning progress. Also, when there were times when I was really down, it's also reaching out to either my husband or my friends who have been supportive, like, hey, I need you, and asking for help when you need it. Sometimes we think like we can do it all. We're strong, we can do it all, but it's okay to ask, and it's okay to let go sometimes. So it's like learning to do those things. And so, yeah, counseling, I've been told to meditate, to kind of like remove all the other, so many other things that are in our mind, and just kind of focus on a task at a time. That's very hard, but I'm trying to get through it. But, a lot of it is changing your own mindset, and relearning how to process and everything and cope with it. Yeah.
Seems like that mindset piece helps you take off at least some of the layers of what you have to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, prioritizing what's important. Can this wait? Okay, I'll come back to this tomorrow, and this cannot wait, so we got to do this now. And that's how we kind of let ourselves not be overwhelmed, because we can be. Yeah.
Speaking of overwhelm and prioritizing, you are busy. You have many roles that you play. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a daughter, you're a business person, you're a dentist, you own your practice, correct?
Correct, I do.
You're a lecturer, you're an author, you're a podcast host. You play all these roles. And I'm curious how you manage all of this, and if it has changed since your brother's death.
Yes, I've asked for a lot of help. I've a very supportive family. My parents are very supportive. My husband, who really, your life partner needs to be supportive, because grief can really break marriages. And then, he'll take care of the kids, and being honest with my children too. That's one thing I've learned through this journey, is I've never not shared anything with my kids. Like, they knew what was happening. They knew the prognosis. They knew, like, and I tell them that life is all about, it's a journey. It's ups and downs. It's life and death. And you're just learning these lessons, and you just learned them a little earlier than others. And that's just the honesty. So, and other things is, like I've said before, I've said no to things. I've changed the way I practice. I used to practice about an hour or so away from work. And it was just the style of practice I knew it was not going to be what I want when I'm, in my later stages of my life. So reframing that I am about 15 minutes away from my children. If they're sick, I can bring them to work. I designed the office so that I have space for them. I'm around for their activities. And, one of the things was, one of us will always be there for our children. So if my husband can't be, I'll be there for their play or whatever their life needs are, because time's very limited with them. So, it's just refocusing, getting a lot of support, and accepting it and asking for help. Because a lot of times I would say, yeah, I'll take care of it. Yeah, I'll do it. And now I'll be like, no, can I delegate some of this and do it? And working close, so that I'm not wasting my time driving. I'm there when they need me. Yeah.
Sound like some great life changes that could probably benefit a lot of people. So
yeah.
Awesome.
So we mentioned in passing that you were an author. And tell us about how your book, Life Interrupted, Dr. Dua's Survival Guide, came to be.
Sure. So my brother was battling oral cancer. He was a dentist, and in his last stages, he was metastatic. Before he got the diagnosis of metastatic in December, in November, he told me, I've got some of the results. I don't have the final findings, but I'm going to die, and I'm okay with it. And it was very hard for me to accept that, from somebody I've watched. We're almost 8 years apart, so I've seen him come home from the hospital. He's taken his first footsteps with me. I've changed his diapers. So for him to say to me, and I said, "No, you're fine." And then that's the time he started blogging or writing about his reflections on life. And he started these articles, and they were published in like the Dental Town. And when I visited him in December of 21, he showed me all the articles, and he said, I really want this to be published. And I said, fine, I'll work on a publisher. Let's get this going. And he said, don't rush me. I'm going to take my time. And I'm like, no, you don't have time. I wanted this for him to be something he want, to see in person. However, I flew back, and he had written the last on New Beginnings about life leaving and, leaving this earth. And he talks about a lot of things. And when he passed, it was very sudden. With cancer, it wasn't something that we had a date, and I did not get to see him in person either. I said goodbye to him on WhatsApp. And so when I came here to Canada, and I walked in his house, and everything was the same. Life kept going. Trees were chirping, the sun was out, his medications were still there by his bed. He was getting palliative care at home, so everything was he had a Plorex, which is a machine to help remove fluid from the lungs. He had a lot of lung buildup because of metastatic cancer. So all of that equipment was still there. His food, he's like, I'm going to eat this when I get better, still in the fridge, blankets. So everything was there but him. And it was his life interrupted. So that's where the title in this book came around, because I sat down with his laptop, pulled all the articles, and since I was already had a publisher in mind, we're like, I got to get this book going. And I couldn't do anything else for him, because I lived in States, he lived in Canada. I couldn't be there for treatment. COVID played a large factor. Traveling to the country was hard. He was immunocompromised with COVID. It was hard for me to be with him in person. And so I couldn't do anything else for him. I couldn't save him. I couldn't help detect it early. I couldn't help him in his decision making. I couldn't help save him. All I could do was get this writing, make his last or honor his last wishes, and in some way help others, with what he's written and his wordings. Yeah.
And
so that,
and look at what it's done. How beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we created this podcast of the same name with the intention that we interviewed the closest of his friends, the inner circle, who've seen him in his last days, and creating something that it was a way to just share unexpressed love that COVID stole from us. I foresee myself lucky that I was there to say the last goodbye. I was able to see his body, plan his funeral. I was able to hold a memoriam for him, but we were only allowed 10 people because of COVID restrictions. So a lot of that grieving did not happen, and COVID stole that opportunity. So the podcast, the book, it was all a way to help grieve, to feel connected, because I was sharing his story on his laptop and his words. So this was all part of the grieving process, and it was his last desire. So here it came around.
What a special way to honor his request and to honor his legacy. And so I just want everyone to know that we'll have a link to the book in the show notes. And it's called Life Interrupted, Dr. Dua's Survival Guide.
Yeah, that's what he called his collection of vlogs.
Yeah, that's great. So
Yeah, yeah.
oh, well, I love what you've brought, what you've learned, how you've navigated, and how you're continuing to honor him and help others with life, basically.
Yeah.
And because this is all part of life. And so
It is. And unfortunately, with life, as with time, we cannot reverse it. I cannot go back and alter things. And there'll be things in life we will regret doing, or we will regret happening, or they don't go as we planned it. All we can do is change the future. And so if somebody gets an early detection, pays more sign, to their bodies, or changes their outlook of life and doing things that bring them joy, putting things in perspective. If I can change somebody or save a life, I know it'll be good serving.
well, and I'd be willing to bet you've already done that many times with all of your effort. So
Thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of changing, one thing that we kind of went through some changes when we were thinking of creating the Mint door was, what color was our door going to be? And we came up with several different colors, but we settled on mint for several different reasons. But I'm curious, if you were to pick a color for your door, if you were to change your front door to a color, what would it be?
Blue. Blue is just calming, reminds me of water. One of the sports I love is swimming, because it's just, there's no noise. There's no music. There's nobody talking. It's just the soothing sound of water. And it's very calming, and just the serenity of it all. So I would pick blue. Yeah.
That's a nice color. I love it.
And great reasons as well behind it. Next time I go swimming, I'm going to listen now, be more conscious of the sound of the water.
Yeah. It's very soothing.
Now, as high achievers, we're busy, and we don't often get time to stop and listen to the pool water, or do things like that. But what's one thing that brings you joy in your everyday life, an activity or a thing, or what do you do that brings joy?
Travel. Like, I love to travel, love exploring, because the world we're so big, but we're so connected at the same time, and just experiencing new, just breaking the monotony of life, and just experiencing new sounds, new flavors, new tastes, new people, what you learn. It's just such a big world out there, and just to have an open heart and just receive, it's the universe. We're all connected, and I've realized this after my Manu's journey, and things and signs that I've accepted from him, which is a whole topic for another day. I've realized that he's around me, and I feel like just opening your world to the universe, and so with traveling, I feel that connection, that we're really all together in this one tiny little rock going through space, and just being open and accepting of it all. Yeah.
If I can get a bonus question, I'll piggyback back it up. Where's next?
Why? I don't know. This book and this definitely opened me, has met me through amazing people that I've met on, like you, not in real life, but on podcasts, and feel so connected with. It's definitely getting me into lecturing, maybe speaking, sharing my journey, because I didn't have that. I didn't have anybody else who was in my shoes at that time that I knew was navigating through all of this. So if I can be of help, then so be it. So really just speaking and sharing, that we're more than we are, and we're very powerful people if we just be open.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we hope we bump into you somewhere.
Exactly.
Yes, that'd be exciting.
In real life.
In real life. Yes.
Yes.
For sure.
Oh, well, and it's so fun to just, podcasts are just wonderful because it's an opportunity to get to know somebody better when you can't be in real life.
Right.
And so one of the ways that we get to know people a little better, Karen and I were talking, and this brings us to a brand new Mint Door question,
Okay.
but it's talking about maybe something that not too many people know about you. And so, for instance, when Karen and I were visiting about this, Karen told me that when she was 16, she was a junior sports journalist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she actually covered some Premier League teams.
Crazy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And so that led me to think about, sports. And in my younger years, I qualified for the Boston Marathon, and I did it on 100%
Wow.
plant-based diet.
Wow.
So
Impressive.
yeah, so those were
Yeah.
two things about us. So we were wondering if you could share with our audience maybe something that not everybody knows about you.
Oh my gosh. Just because I've lived in so many different places all over the world, I have held 3 different countries' passports. And I have learned, not that I know, but I have in my lifetime learned 8 languages. But I can only speak 4 fluently and maybe read and write 3.
Only 4 and only 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because, just with life's journey. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's amazing. What 3 countries, can I ask?
Sure, India, that's where I was born. And now I have a dual citizenship of US and Canada.
So fun. So fun.
It's so fun. And I will tell you something, maybe after the recording stops, a fun story.
All right.
Yeah.
You'll have to run into Parul in real life to maybe hear that rest of that story.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate
Cliffhanger,
The
right?
ultimate
Dun, dun, dun.
cliffhanger. I love it. Well, we certainly appreciate your time today, sharing your wisdom, your journey with us. And we'd just love to know, what's the best way to find out more about you?
Sure.
We said we'd put all of this in the show notes. So if someone wanted to reach out, what would be the best way?
You could on Instagram and Facebook with PDM Family Dental, P Peter, D David, M Mary, Family Dental, or my email, which is, you can share that. It's PARUL_DUA@yahoo.com. And I think I've had this email since I was in college. I never changed. But those are the best ways to reach me at. Yeah.
Fantastic. And of course, we'll include the link to the book and to the podcast in our show notes. So be sure and check those out, because both very special and gifts that you have given to the world in honor of your brother and his legacy. So
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you for being with us, and thanks everyone for joining us for another important edition of the Mint Door podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Love it.